To record. Okay, it's in recording mode, so be careful what you say. We got a few seconds till we start here. Okay, exit full screen. Gallery view. Gallery view, that's it. Oh, there we go. Now I see the crowd. Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Hope everyone hear me? We'll say, okay. So hopefully everything's good. Today we didn't have the simcha here, but the shul participated in a simcha. Lindsay and Eric Feldman had a baby boy born 8 days ago, and the bris was today in their home. And the first time that I did the Kriyas Hashem through Zoom, and the baby's name is Yair Pinchas, a beautiful name. And may him and his older brother Yehuda, may they give Lindsay and Eric a lot of nachas, may they have a lot of nachas and good health, recover from the birth. And we look forward to sharing many samples. Very, very nice. There's many people who joined on that. It was a really special family from all over the United States. It looked like it's really quite fascinating. And today we don't have any sponsors yet. Never too late. But we do have an anniversary to celebrate. I don't know if they're here. I don't see them on the screen. But Naomi and Noki Gans, may they have many more. Amit Hashem, happy anniversaries, beautiful simchas, and tremendous nachas for the kids. And also, happy birthday to Sam Braun. I don't know where he is. I don't see the Brauns here either, but we wish him mazel tov. He should grow up to be a great Talmid Chacham and give his parents a lot of nachas, and continue to nourish from the lollipops until he grows up. He's an adorable little boy, and it's always fun having him around. Okay, so tonight, I wanted to talk about we're continuing on Yesod Shebenetzach. Yesod Shebenetzach. And so who's Yesod Shebenetzach? What is Netzach? We said it means eternity, means eternal, means victory, but it means endurance. It really means endurance, to be able to continue to maintain one's momentum in Avodas Hashem throughout his life and not be deterred. So the midah that complements Netzach, the ingredient, one of the prime ingredients that complements Netzach is Yesod. Now in tradition, Yesod is Yosef. Yesod is Yosef refers to Yosef, and what is the connection between Yosef and Netzach? And the truth is that Yosef is the only shevet that's mentioned in Tanakh in several places that Klal Yisrael is attributed to. We're called Yehudim, Al Shem Yehuda, but we're called Bnei Yaakov v'Yosef Selo, and also She'eris Yosef. We're referred to as She'eris Yosef, the remnant of Yosef, which resonates with the notion of Nitzchias, of Netzach. She'eris Yosef. We're here, we're a remnant because there's something about Yosef that represents continuity. What is that? What is it about Yosef and his midah that is the key ingredient to Nitzchias, and to the extent that Klal Yisrael is Netzach, is Nitzchi, because we're called She'eris Yosef, because some alliance with Yosef, we're aligned with Yosef. What is it? You know, in life, we often set ourselves on a certain path. Certainly in terms of how we expect our families to work out and how we'll raise our children. And very often circumstances change beyond our control. And very often we plan out a profession through which we hope to bring Kvod Shemayim. And very often it doesn't quite work out the way we planned, the way we dreamt. And we get detoured and it doesn't work out. And the natural reaction is to be disappointed, to be dejected, despairing. And very often we also think that we're on the right path, we're doing the right thing. And then suddenly, when least expected, smile, you're on candid camera, and suddenly you're faced with a sign, your whole life changes. I mean, Avraham Avinu thought he was on a path to raising the Jewish people, and he finally had a child, and then he's told, sorry, okay, it turned out that it was okay, but imagine what he thought, what was going on in his mind. And the natural reaction is to say, well, what's going on? What does God want from me? And I think one of the greatest examples of someone who was on a trajectory to greatness and had every reason to believe that he would continue on that path without any disruption was Yosef HaTzadik. And yet, at the age of 17, his life got detoured for, I think it was a total of, it was 13 years. And he was 30 when finally Yaakov came back down. It was to 10 years, and then 2 years in jail, and then another year till he came down. Till he was 30, went down to 17, and it was 13 years later. And he was living in isolation. And his great hopes, the Ksenes Pasim, which wasn't just a nice garment that he was supposed to wear, but it was representative of his carrying the mission of the Jewish people. And yet we find that he endured and he rose to greatness in a different manner than he had obviously planned for himself. But at the end, it all worked out, and the family got together, and even though we still got some work to do to rectify it 100%, but nevertheless, it all worked out. So what was the key to his being successful? How did he not allow himself to get derailed? What was the midah that he had that's called Yesod, that's that foundation that gives you, Yesod conjures in our image, you pour the cement, and that's the base of the entire building, and the base and the foundation, the whole building that is structured above it is contingent on putting a firm foundation. What was in the ingredient in his firm foundation that allowed him to become forever associated with the Yesod, that he's the Yesod Shevanetzach, that the Sheirus Yosef, the remnant of the Klal Yisrael. There's a famous singer, and they wrote about him several. He appeared. There were articles about him. He appeared in a famous Project Inspire Shabbaton. His name is Alex Clare. I don't know if anyone follows popular music or willing to admit it, but he's a remarkable singer from England, and he was on a great trajectory to become a fabulous singer. In fact, he did become very famous. But in the beginning, when he started to compose, he started at the age of 17, and then suddenly got interested in Yiddishkeit, and he was in the midst of becoming, religious and starting to observe Shabbos, and he had a contract with, I think the name of the company was called Island Records, which is part of Universal, which is like, the world class. And you put records here, you're talking about the millions, not, hundreds of thousands, but millions. And he made a condition with them because he was on his way to observance. It's the whole story in itself, which is not for now. And he made a condition. He says, look, I know that part of my success is contingent on performing publicly and promoting me, but I can't do anything on Shabbos or the holidays. So here it was. He had a contract, and Pesach came. He said, look, no, I can't, not Shabbos, not Pesach. And then finally he came around Yom Kippur. It was going through months and months and different, he did many concerts, and he played together with very famous singers. But on Yom Kippur, he gets a message, and he didn't hear it. And Matzah Yom Kippur, he opens up his message, and they tell him, look, Alex, we're with you, all the holidays, but, and Yom Kippur, of course, but we got the spotlight of your life on BBC, which is exposed to millions, hundreds of thousands, whole Europe. It's not just, even into America, people watch BBC, but especially in Europe. They got a spot on some show that spotlights, young aspiring performers. They said, once you sing on this one, once you perform, that's it. Your path to success is done. So he thinks for a second, and he says, but I'm sorry. What night is it? He said, Thursday. He says, Thursday night. He says, I know it sounds crazy. We just had a holiday. It was Yom Kippur. But 4 days later, after that is Sukkot. I can't do it. At this point, and again, he's thinking in his mind, what does God want from me? I've been performing, and he always wears a cap, and he's been performing only kosher music and maintaining his dignity and demeanor as a yid, even though he became fabulously popular, but this was not as popular as he was destined yet to become. And at that point, they said, nothing doing, we're dropping the contract, and he was left penniless. And he had to pay his performers that he owed money, based on the future events that he was in Gehaktatzaris. At that point, he goes to Eretz Yisrael. I think he went to Eshet Torah, and he suddenly, found with a much deeper passion the Yiddishkeit and Torah, and he realized that the choice he made was the right one. But still, he was always wondering, like, what does God want from me? I mean, how much I could have done, how much I could have accomplished by being a frum performer in the most secular venues, but yet radiate the belief and the values and the character traits. He's a marvelous person. You watch interviews with him, Alex Clear, Clare. Anyway, so eventually, the end of the story was that he gets a contract eventually. Someone saw one of his videos, I think it was Microsoft, and they needed a promotion for one of their new products. And they said I think the song was called Too Close. It's a fabulous song. Not that I know anything about it, but it's a fabulous song. And it was exactly what they needed. And from that, he became popular, and even without all of his concerts, and eventually that song became, sold. It was seen by 45 million people, sold 6 million records, whatever it is, and he went to stardom. But now he's a frum yid. He still performs in the secular. And I saw an interview I just saw recently. I was enthralled a little bit. So I heard an interview, and okay, so many people say, his greatness was he was Meiser Nefesh for Shabbos, and that's what did it for Yontif and Shabbos, and he was Meiser Nefesh, and God paid him back. But how did he do it? How did he have the fortitude? What was it? Was it just, he knew, God or nothing, and that's it? He said something in an interview that I think reflects on what it's all about. He says, sometimes we think that the image that we expect or we formed and have been successful with is the definition of who we are. And he said he discovered, when he was in yeshiva, he discovered a message from David HaMelech. The pasuk says in Tehillim, David HaMelech says, that David HaMelech went through a lot of ups and downs, disappointments and successes, and more disappointment than successes. And at the end, of course, is David HaMelech. And David HaMelech writes a pasuk in Tehillim that he quoted, this Alex Clear. He said, Ani kirvas elikim li tov. I realized that it's not about what the image I create for myself, or the expectations or the dreams, even when it appears that God is on my side and it's going in that direction. At the end of the day, what my yesod is, Ani kirvas elikim li tov. It's not just people who are performers who become disappointed. There are people who are great philanthropists, and suddenly they lose their pants, they lose their money, they lose all their money. And overnight, they can no longer do the philanthropy that they were able to do. I remember the Reichmans, even though they kept doing, but nothing. After Olympia, York, there was a famous Canary Wharf and all that they lost the money, they went down. It wasn't the same. And you could have thought, okay, it's over. And what about Rosh Hashivas who yeshivas didn't work out, and they were left to not necessarily continue on the path of what they thought was so noble. Yet it's easy to fall apart and say, well, God, you abandoned me. How can I go forward? I had so much hope. But if all you live with is the Yesod Sheva Netzach, the Yesod Sheva Netzach is Yosef. Yosef, you know what it says about Yosef? What did they see in him? Here he was, lost his family, thrown out, hasn't seen them for years. And nevertheless, Vahi Hashem es Yosef. They sensed that he was a man who lived with God, whatever circumstance he was in. He never defined who he was other than his relationship with Hashem. Ani kirvas elikim li tov. And it says, Vahi ish matzliach, and Vayar ki Hashem itoi. They just saw that he was a man that rolled with whatever it was. He found solace, and he found the yesod of life is whatever God sends me, I will carve out the relationship that I have with him and make it fit to that situation. It happens to be that today, in the 48 ways that the Torah is nickness, ma'am. Today's corresponds to Sameach B'Chelkai. So normally we understand Sameach in a very simple sense. You know, you want money, you don't want money. Be happy with what you have. Don't want for more. Sameach B'Chelkai is much deeper. It means to be able to be happy with who you really are. Who are you? Are you the rabbi? Are you the philanthropist? Are you the teacher? Of course, these are forums for us to promote ourselves and our talents, of course, that Hashem gives to us. But it's not necessarily who you are. You are Ani Kiras Elikim Tov. Your side is wherever you are to find Hashem and accept that. Sameach, be happy with who you are, whatever circumstance you're in. When you live like that, then you don't have the expectation, and you hope that you can do it. And if it will come your way, you will utilize whatever greatness comes your way to utilize it to promote Kvat Shemayim. That doesn't have to define who you are. And therefore, you know, especially in these times, a lot of people suddenly get shaken, and you know, and they start, you know, slacking off, not davening as much, not learning as much. That means you don't know who we really are, because, you know, even if your business goes to boot, who knows what it'll be? No one knows. We don't know. We don't know how long, you know, when the shul will open up. Maybe, you know, I'm a retired rabbi already. Who knows? But Ari's laughing. But who knows? We don't know. No one knows. No one knows. We have one day here, tomorrow. No one knows what the next week means. We have so many lessons. The one thing that defines is Ani Kiras Elikim Tov. Vahi Hashem es Yosef. That's the Sameach B'Chelkai. Be happy with our relation with Hashem. We'll figure it out. We won't get disturbed. Who we are is the Kviyasitim that we have, the davening that we have, and the mitzvahs that are eternal. It doesn't, you know, the forum in which we operate under can change at any time. No one has any guarantees. Some, you know, that famous Rabbi Horowitz, Yitzi Horowitz in LA, who was a great Mashliach for Chabad, powerhouse, amazing individual, full of energy, and he had ALS. We've spotlighted him many times, and he's lying. He can't barely move. He can only move his eyes and write articles and smile slightly. But he's V'Hashem es Yosef. It didn't define who he was, whether he's a shliach or not a shliach. He has the Eibishter. That's the Yesod Shevanetzach. That's the She'eris Yosef. That's what Yosef taught us. Yosef said, no matter where you are, you could be in a dungeon. And you're in a dungeon for 2 years. And nevertheless, Vahi Hashem, Bani Kiras Elikim Litov, you could find it. May we find that in our lives and cling to it and pour that cement that makes that foundation, because that's going to carry us through life. Hopefully Hashem will give us our dreams, and hopefully we'll be able to be deserving of Hashem allowing us to use our talents in the way we hope to, in the right way. But either way, the only way we're going to be the She'eris Yosef, the Yesod Shevanetzach, is Vani Kiras Elikim Litov. Alex Clare, we thank you. We respect you. Look him up online. Great stuff. You can listen to his songs. You know, some of it's secular. Give you heter. The COVID heter, as someone called me today, he wanted to know a certain heter. He says, does this fall under the banner of COVID-19 heterim? So, okay. If Alex Clare sings a song, you can listen to it. That's my heter. There's no Koli.